We have a lot to cover. Let us get started. This narration is titled, When We First Went to School. My goodness, don't you remember when you first went to school, you went to kindergarten? And in kindergarten, the idea was to push along so that you could get into first grade. Then push along so to get into second grade, third grade, so on. Going up, and then you went to high school. Do you remember that this was a great transition in life, and the pressure was put on you again? You needed to get ahead, get the high grades, and finally be good enough to get into university. And then when you got into university, you were going step by step to the great moment in which you were ready to go out into the world. Then when you got out into the world, came the struggle for success in your profession or business. And again, there was a ladder in front of you to climb. Then suddenly, when you were about 40 to 45 years old, in the middle of life, you woke up one day and said, "What? This is it?" You felt like you have been cheated, right? Because you see, you realized you were always living for somewhere you were not there yet. Always trying to achieve something and not living in the moment. While it is of tremendous use for us to be able to look ahead in our lives this way, there is no use in planning for a future when you get to it and it becomes the present. You will not be there. You will be living in some other future which has not yet arrived. So in this way, we never were able to actually inherit and enjoy the fruits of our action. Remember this, if anything, you can't live at all unless you can live fully now. And because now is never satisfactory, because we never really lived in it, we got more and more restless to go ahead and pursue the future. But have you ever stopped to think what the world would be like if you could fulfill every wish the moment you wished it? Suppose, for example, you go to bed at night. You could dream whatever you wanted to dream. What would happen after a while, I suppose, is that at first you would dream fantastic pleasures, wonderful adventures of all the things you ever wished. Then, as time went on, don't you think you would want to be a little bit surprised to have less control over what was happening to you in your dream? And after, you would experiment in the dream for some months or years. You might even want dreams in which you suffer, because there is no real delight, no real fulfillment without delay. So, in patience, we should learn to enjoy the present we are in, and try to enjoy what comes our way. Therefore, we should focus on time. One of the conventions by which we tend to be fooled more than almost any other is time. And for all human beings, time is a matter of extraordinary importance. We have a strong memory. We are able to remember the past and act accordingly. Furthermore, based on the past, we move forward. And although this facility gives us the most extraordinary ability to plan our life to prepare for the future, but, as stated earlier, we realize late in life that the true reality in which we live is the present only. We don't live in the future. We actually spend most of our time and a great deal of our emotional energy living in a time which is not here. We live in an elsewhere time, which is not entirely real, so much so that although we may be quite comfortable and happy in our present circumstances, if there is not a guarantee of a good time coming tomorrow, we are at once unhappy, even in the midst of pleasure. Furthermore, we develop a kind of chronic anxiety about time. We want to be sure more and more that our future is assured, and for this reason, the future becomes more important to all of us than the present time we are in. But for some of us, the pursuit for the future, to the sacrifice of today, the happiness could never be reached. So we eventually come to realize that the present is the only place in which we live, and that the past and the future are no more than useful delusions. Useful only if one can live now properly. Therefore, be the awakened one. Be the person who woke up and is living now in the present. I can hear you ask, in what sense does awake mean? It means in a sense that the person was completely all here, completely now. Be completely awake. Be completely alive now. Reality is only now, in this moment.